Welcome to Eyes on Books, the video club of Laguna Woods Village program that is brought to you every month. My name is Barbara Greer, and with me this morning as a co-host is my friend Steve Savala. And we're very excited to be introducing a best-selling book entitled The Residence: Inside the Private World of the White House, which was written in 2016 by Kate Anderson Brower. Steve, what would you like to say about the purpose of this book?
Well, the purpose of the book, I'll just tell you what I got out of it, is to give us some insight to the staff in the White House. And I really liked it because I'm a Downton Abbey fan. So it kind of gave you the upstairs and downstairs type of background, and you found these people to be real people.
Yes, very much so. I felt a very great sense of patriotism reading this book about the employees who serve the White House, the president and the first family, and how they do that with such loyalty and kindness and trust, no matter what their own political affiliation is.
Right. It's an apolitical book.
And Kate interviewed 90 or so, I forget how many, but she interviewed so many ushers, the head butler, the butlers, the maids, the chefs, the florists, to get an inside look on what it meant to serve the first family and the president.
Right, yeah. I was impressed by the plumber.
Oh, right.
The plumber, his name was Reds.
Reds, yes,
Yeah.
yes,
And
I have his name.
President Johnson wanted his shower to be more powerful and strong and really hot. And so it took many pumps and you know, engineers and so on and so forth to get that done. And one of the, I think it was a butler who decided to put on a bathing suit, who, you know, turned it on, and he was kind of blown against the wall.
Exactly, it was so funny.
So President Johnson decided to get it himself, you know, try it himself. And first he kind of was in pain because it was so hot, but he stood there for a while, and the next thing you know, he's in heaven.
Heaven, exactly, because it was hot enough and strong enough.
Right.
When she interviewed Reds, the head plumber, he said that he almost had a nervous breakdown because he could not get it exactly to satisfy President Johnson, and he so wanted to do that.
Right.
But at the end of President Johnson's residency in the White House, he thanked him for his efforts and how important it was for him to find relaxation, and this was one of the ways he found relaxation.
Right. In fact, I think he invited him down to the ranch.
Yeah, for a picnic.
Yeah.
So he did get rewarded in the end.
I think the thing that also drew me to this book is the idea that these are real people, you know, that they have families and but they are very, very dedicated. And
so dedicated.
An example of that was one of the butlers was having lunch with his wife, and he gets a phone call that President Kennedy was assassinated. And he immediately jumped into his car, and went to the White House to support the first family. And amazing how, like you said, dedicated and that they are.
One of the things that you and I talked about before this morning, before our session here today, was how we first became aware of the White House. And for both of us, and I assume for many of our listeners, it was First Lady Jacqueline Kennedy's documentary on the White House, and that was shown on both CBS and NBC. It had 80 million viewers, and she won an honorary Emmy for that documentary. It was one of the most terrific events, and it made me have at least a small understanding of the White House, but certainly not to the extent that I'm receiving from this particular nonfiction book.
Yeah, with the Kennedys being described as Camelot.
Camelot, yes.
And I was very taken by allowing us to come into the, I think it was the dish room and some other
Yes.
some other rooms or whatever. But yeah, I felt like they were very friendly, you know, and not real tight or, you know, not real formal.
Yes.
So that was quite a thing, because otherwise I never thought about the staff that serves the presidents and their families. I mean,
And sometimes, as Ms. Brower says, it's 3 generations. It's
right,
like a family tradition for some of the employees to carry on this very, what they call an honor to serve the first families.
yeah, yeah,
One of my favorite stories, you talked about one of your favorite stories, but my favorite story, or one of them, was also about the Kennedy time in the White House when the children needed extra help other than what the nanny could get. And one time the nanny asked one of the ushers to come up and help her with the children. And little Caroline was saying, "Would you teach me how to somersault? I can't get my legs to go right." And so he got down on the ground and helped her to learn how to somersault. And I think it was the same usher who little John Jod would turn to have him read books. So they became a part of the family
right.
and were very much loved by.
And they also, because I'm sure the presidents and their first ladies traveled a lot,
Yes.
so they provided stability to the children or the rest of the family because they're always there.
One of the things that Kate talks about is parenting in the White House, and she mentions all of the children and teenagers that lived in the White House and how each of them had a special place, and the staff contributed to their learning in very, very wonderful ways. I really enjoyed
Right,
that.
right. And the author indicated that President W. Bush's 2 girls
Right.
were, I guess they called them wild childs or
Wild teenagers. or
wild
something.
teenagers
Yes.
or whatever.
Yeah, they had some funny stories about them.
Yeah. Another thing that I thought was quite interesting was Barbara Bush.
Yes, me too. That was one of my favorite stories.
Here's this one of the wealthiest women in the world,
Right.
and she comes into the White House. She brings one
Dresser.
right?
Right.
And the rest she goes to the warehouse where all the previous presidents' furniture has been stored.
Right. The White House warehouse. Did we
White
even
House.
know that existed?
No, no, but and she's very matter of fact, just like with the chef, you know, about the food in the White House. That
Right.
she wasn't real finicky, or you know, wasn't you know, trying to.
Well, they asked her, as I remember, they asked her, "Do you have favorite items that you would like to fix for you
Right.
and the president?" And she said, "No, we want to try everything that you have to share with us." And they said, "Well, what if you don't like something?" And she said, "Well, we just won't order it again."
Right.
She was very, and he, George Bush, developed a friendship with one of the staff, and they played horseshoes.
Right.
And that was a great outlet for President Bush at that time.
Right. Right. And
Another one of the stories I really appreciated was the sense of family that so many of the presidents had with James Ramsey, who was the first African American head butler.
Right.
He passed away, and by that time, Laura and George Bush had already returned to their ranch in Texas.
Right.
But Laura and her daughter came back to Washington, D.C. to attend his memorial service. And that just, it just speaks to that relationship that the
Yeah.
staff has with
yeah,
the president and the first lady.
I was very impressed with that.
We are going to be interviewing the author now. I think we're so excited about that. And
Yes.
we can give a little teaser that this book has been optioned by Netflix.
All right, right. Shonda Rhimes.
Shonda Rhimes, who's done so many incredible productions for Netflix, will
Right.
be the director. And so we're quite excited that Ms. Brower has had such success with this book and 4 other books
Really.
that she
Yeah.
has authored about the presidency. And
Right.
it's very amazing. It's going to be exciting to interview her.
Yes. I'm looking forward to it.
Yes. Welcome back. We're so excited that now we are able to interview our guest, Kate Anderson Brower, and her wonderful book, which we've been describing to you, called The Residents. Hi, Kate. Can we call you Kate?
Yes, please. Hi. Thanks for having me.
Kate, my name is Barbara, and my co-host is Steve. We have been introducing our audience to The Residents, which Steve and I enjoyed so much. We want you to know that, how much we appreciated this very patriotic look into the White House through the eyes of such a dedicated staff. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that. It was a pleasure to work on the book. I've written 5 books, and it's it was the most fun I ever had reporting and researching a book.
Wonderful. We wanted to start, though. I was so intrigued. I watched some of your interviews and I looked at your history as a journalist, and I was very much impressed with how you became a journalist for the White House, something that you did that I think would inspire not only retirees but young people, how you actually rather volunteered your way into your position. Can you tell the audience a little bit about that?
I was working as a producer for Bloomberg Television, and my boss needed somebody to handle the weekend assignment. So this was really just going to the White House to watch Marine One take off from the South Lawn. And I volunteered to do that. It's not a very glamorous position.
Right.
But that's how I started reporting, because
You actually traveled on Air Force One, didn't you?
Yes, yeah, I did. I flew on Air Force One several times when President Obama was in office, and the food is delicious. It was a highlight, and I don't like turbulence at all on flights, but I always felt like that was a very safe place to be.
I would think so. Steve, you wanted to ask her about her motivation.
Yeah, I'm very interested. First of all, you seem so non-threatening, and you got a lot of information out of the staff you interviewed, which I was very impressed by. And so I was just kind of curious about what is your motivation for writing this book, and how did you always have an interest in government and various things like that?
For saying that I seem non-threatening. I don't know if my kids think that when I'm in bed. I think that I'm very, I tried to relate to the resident staff who I interviewed. I was pregnant at the time, actually, and I would bring them Georgetown Cupcakes, which is a local cupcake chain in our neighborhood, and we would sit and talk, and really the motivation for doing the book was because I wanted people to see the hard work that the staff does behind the scenes. And, we really don't give these housekeepers, butlers, cooks, plumbers, engineers, enough credit, and bastion, kind of an island of nonpartisanship here in Washington,
Right.
where everything has just gotten so incredibly divisive and narrative nonfiction, because really I was trying to capture the stories of these people's lives that help tell the story of that presidency, that generation in American political history.
That both Steve and I had wondered about all these years was the day of transition, when one president leaves the White House and another president and the family comes to the White House to live. We were so fascinated with what you had to say about that, but we'd like you to describe to the audience, how many hours do they get to transition the White House, and what all do they do to make it a home?
Yeah. That's when the staff has to unpack boxes, put the bedspread and sheets on the bed. Although presidents and first ladies often bring their own bed to the White House, they always bring their own mattresses. But it's a complex process, and there's actually a whole department that just mostly handles the transition, and they really call that showtime that day when they have to do that move. And it's something that they also work on during the primary season. I mean, the chief usher at the White House, who runs the residence, actually reaches out to the family members and friends of the top candidates to find out, what they like to eat, what kind of shampoo they use, what toothpaste they use. And so it's really quite astounding, the amount of work that goes into that one day.
What smoothest transition that you discovered in interviewing the staff between which presidents? Was there one, or?
Bush's moved into the White House, Bush Sr. So this is George H.W. Bush and Barbara Bush. And they were really the most beloved president and first lady because of the way they treated the staff. They really connected with the staff, knew the names of the housekeepers. They considered it such a privilege and an honor to live in the White House that that was the easiest transition. I haven't done a lot of reporting on the Trumps because I'm working on a new book, but from what I know, that was kind of more of a chaotic transition, of course, between President Obama and President Trump.
So tell us about what you're working on. We're very curious about that, since both The Residence and your book, First Women, didn't cover the Trump presidency or Melania Trump.
I needed a break myself, so I started to write. I interviewed John Warner, who was married to Elizabeth Taylor, and I thought this is such a fascinating story. The only movie star to ever be married to a senator, and Elizabeth, to me, Elizabeth Taylor is just a figure of a powerful woman who made huge changes and became the first celebrity activist in the AIDS crisis in the 80s when nobody was talking about it. So I started working on that book, and I got in touch with her family, and it's incredible because the family members and I have worked together. And so the book, which comes out in the fall, I'd love to come back and talk to you about it. It has these letters, these incredible love letters between Elizabeth and her various husbands, and just
Wow.
getting inside the head of this incredibly famous woman who helped change the world. And so that's what I've spent the past few years working on, is a book that has a little bit to do with politics, but not everything to do with politics, because I'm sure you'll agree we all needed a little break for the past few years.
Will you ever be writing a book on Melania Trump?
No, I won't, because I've interviewed President Trump for a book I wrote called Team of Five about the former presidents. I have never interviewed Melania Trump. I've talked to Dr. Biden, and of course Michelle Obama, Barbara Bush, Laura Bush. I find Melania Trump very elusive and hard to really kind of get to know, and so I find that might be tricky for me to do a book about the Trumps. I also try to not be too partisan. I just think it's important to find some distance. Well, you know, it's important to pursue something you love, and I'm sure you'll agree. And I think that, you know, to bring in some positive energy, and that's why to me writing about Elizabeth Taylor is such a fascinating topic. I also love old Hollywood, and I find her to be an incredible actress. Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf is one of my favorite films, and A Place in the Sun also. So I think it was just a great detour in my career.
Oh, good. Okay.
One of the things I wanted to ask you about is, and it really surprised me, was that the president they had to pay for their own groceries and for, I guess, clothing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing that I was surprised by that too. You know, they have to pay for everything that's not deemed an official, you know, meal. So when Gerald Ford saw the bill, he said to his daughter Susan, you know, I know that your friends came over and each of them had a Coke and a hamburger, and guess who's paying for that? That's one thing I love about the Fords, is they were very down to earth, you know, middle class family. And so yeah, they have to pay for absolutely everything. And every first lady, with the exception of Barbara Bush, is shocked when they see that bill and very upset. And they want to keep it down. The Carters would ask for leftovers. The Obamas, Michelle Obama would, you know, talk to the chef and say, please, you know, we don't need this delicacy imported for my husband. You know, I think that, you know, they would go on these foreign trips, and President Obama would comment on a meal, and then immediately the White House chef would try to replicate that meal in the White House, because they just desperately want to please the president and first lady, no matter who they are.
Right.
And I think that's very kind, but I think bills get really, really high.
What I appreciated in one of your interviews with the staff was how they said, we want to make this a home, a restful place, a non-judgmental place for the people who are doing the hardest job in the world. And that's just so touching, that despite their own political affiliation, they're working for our president.
Yes, I think that's very important to know, because we're close to the Obamas, you know, close to, you know, I mean, there are some people there who served for 50 years. So they see, you know, 4 administrations, 5 administrations. They're there for presidents who lose after 4 years, and they feel very upset usually for the family because they grow close to the president after 4 years. And they really take it as their responsibility to protect the family, because especially when they're kids living in the White House, they feel very strongly that those kids need to be protected and their privacy needs to be, you know, valued. And I thought I was really touched and just amazed at the integrity of these people who know a lot that they won't ever divulge. I mean, some of them said they'd go to their graves with some of the stories and the things that they witnessed behind the scenes, and I respected them for that.
I do too. And we want to thank you so much for visiting with us today. I want you to know I ordered Exploring the White House for 8 to 12-year-olds, because I have a grandnephew in that age range. So I'm excited to share that.
Oh, thank you. Well, I hope they like it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
Thank you for being
And it's
here
great.
and sharing such wonderful insights, both here and in the book.
Well, thank you.
Thank you again for joining us today, meeting our author, Kate Anderson Brower, joining Steve and I, and looking forward to what's coming next. We so appreciate you and enjoy reading.
We thank you for tuning in to Eyes on Books. And if you have any books that you think might make an interesting discussion or authors who are good speakers, we'd love to hear your suggestions. Contact us at eyesonbooks@yahoo.com and keep watching